Sam, pronouns are he, him, is calling from California, wants to know, how do atheists account for immaterial things? Hey, Sam, are you talking about like abstract concepts or what?
Like, for example, like a hard problem of consciousness.
I'm not aware that there is a solution to the hard problem of consciousness.
Right. So I would say that it's an immaterial thing. The thoughts are immaterial, and I think that atheists cannot account for the immaterial things.
Can I ask one question to try to help this out real quick? Before we go to the hard problem, because it's such a hard problem, can you tell me any immaterial things that don't trace back to material things?
No, I think at the end of the day, there needs to be a material thing for there to be an immaterial thing.
Okay.
Cool. So let's take something.
The one thing. Yeah.
Oh, except for. So, okay. Well, so we already agree that you just committed a special pleading fallacy?
Well, it's different, right?
No, see, yes, a special pleading fallacy is you saying something is different and not justifying that it's an exception.
Yeah.
Right. So God would be the beginning of that, right? So everything.
No. Sam, right. You don't just get to assert. Okay, hey, consciousness is foundational. There we go. Consciousness is foundational. It doesn't need an explanation. See, you see how that completely destroys any hope you have of getting to the actual justification? Because in the same way that you can justify God as an explanation for consciousness and never demonstrate that there is a God, I can just say, hey, consciousness is foundational. And neither one of us has demonstrated a thing. We've just made assertions. So to get to your actual issue, when it comes to concepts, numbers, things like that, I'm not aware of any way to say that concepts exist absent a mind, that a mind is required for there to exist concepts, and they don't exist as things qua things, but concepts are contingent. I think you agree with that, because it's pretty much what you said in answer to Brady's question, that there aren't immaterial things that aren't contingent on material things, and then you said, except the one thing, God. So we're at least in agreement there. How do you account for consciousness?
Well, I would say I would believe in the supernatural, right? And my whole argument is that atheists don't believe in the supernatural.
Okay, well, so first, Sam
wouldn't require God, and that would require
Sam. So first of all, atheists don't believe in God. There are atheists, I think they're ridiculous, who do actually believe in the supernatural. I don't see how anyone can have a warranted belief in the supernatural. The supernatural is untestable, unfalsifiable. In the entire history of the world, nobody has demonstrated any reliable mechanism for investigating the supernatural and confirming it exists. Do you at least agree with that?
Right. No, not.
Okay. So if supernatural claims can't be tested, how can you possibly have a warranted belief in them?
Right, because it would be impossible to the contrary, right? Like if a thought is immaterial, right, it would be considered supernatural.
I asked about. You said you believe in the supernatural, and I'm saying, how can you believe in something when there's no way to test to find out if you're right?
I mean, I guess you use reasoning, right? If something isn't a material thing, it has to be reasoning. The contrary. Or the latter, right? But yeah.
No, so you can make a logical argument if you list all of the candidate explanations for something, all of them, not just the ones you're aware of or can think of. And if you can rule out all of the candidate explanations except for one, this is basically what I've termed the Doyle fallacy. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle famously has Sherlock Holmes say that once you've ruled out all other possibilities, whatever remains, however improbable, must be the truth. The conceited arrogance there is in presuming that you are aware of and have in fact ruled out all the other possibilities. And Sir Arthur Conan Doyle himself was so bad at this that when he was friends with Houdini, when Houdini would escape from ropes and chains, the ropes would still be tied and the chains would still be shackled and locked. And Sir Arthur Conan Doyle concluded that he ruled out every other possibility and therefore reached the conclusion that Houdini could dematerialize. Now, are you willing to take his word for that?
No, but but like my question to you is, do you think everything?
No.
Everything.
Sam, you don't get to ask me a question when you give me a no and a yes. When I spend that much time trying to get to a point, and you say
no, you're right,
and then you say no and then yes, I don't know what your answer is, so you don't get to skip it and go to my question or to question me.
No, I understand. Like we can't just use things to we rule out something. Like
So
I agree, but
how did you rule out? How did you rule out? How did you rule out a multiverse that is spewing consciousness into our reality?
Yeah, I haven't. I don't necessarily believe in like an actual Christian.
Sam, I didn't say what God. Sam, I didn't say what God you believed in. You said you believe in the supernatural. You believe that supernatural is the explanation for consciousness. I asked you how you rule out the others, and you just admitted that you don't. I asked you how you can believe something if it's untestable, and you say only if you rule out the other things. So, by your own reasoning and admission, you do not have reason to believe that the supernatural is real. You need to go back to the drawing board.
Right, but would you agree that not everything that we know is 100% testable?
I'm done talking to you, Sam, because you don't listen and you're not sincere.
How am I not sincere? I'm trying to
respond to I just demonstrated to you using your own statements and your own reasoning that you do not have sound warrant to believe in the supernatural. And you came back with, but what about? And even if nobody has an answer to your but what about, you still have no warrant for believing in the supernatural. At best, your next question leads back to the only answer we can give right now is, I don't know. And apparently, we don't know. If I don't have an answer, that doesn't in any way add credence to your unfalsifiable, untestable, irrational conclusion that the supernatural is real.
And you used the phrase earlier, you said you accept the supernatural because of the impossibility of the contrary. That is an apologetic sleight of hand used to not have to give a real answer. So now that Matt just walked you through, there are possibilities that you have not considered and that you can't rule out. How are you going to hold on to the idea of the impossibility of the contrary when you haven't ruled out other possibilities?
Right. So I'm saying impossible to the contrary for a material thing, right? Because if a thing is not material, it is by definition immaterial. Would you not agree?
How did you determine that it's not material? Because first of all, you haven't demonstrated that the thing in question exists as anything other than a state of the material, which means consciousness, if it is merely an emergent property from a mind, consciousness is contingent on a mind, it is contingent on material, and it does not exist absent material.
Right, but I would just say, like, for it to be an emergent property, that's kind of like saying like water comes from water molecules. Like water is an emergent property of water.
No. See, this is how I know that you're not serious, Sam, because you're taking no time to think. We are demolishing and explaining things in great detail. And it's like you half read something sometime. The emergent property of water is something called wetness. Wetness is an abstract concept to describe how water molecules interact in mass. Wetness is the emergent property of water, not water. Water isn't the emergent property of water. Wetness is. That's what properties are.
But wouldn't you agree that wetness is a physical property, which consciousness is not a physical property?
Consciousness is a physical property, just as wetness is.
How so?
Because consciousness is contingent on the material. It is how we describe the actions of an electrochemical brain producing a mind, just like wetness is contingent on molecules interacting.
Interesting. Yeah, I called in yesterday about this too. So the same thing, right? So correlation wouldn't equal identity. Would you agree?
Sam, I don't know what fucking bullshit quiz thing you're playing here, but correlation isn't causation. No. Stop talking. Mm-hmm. Correlation isn't causation, but correlation has nothing to do with identity. You're just spewing out words that you heard that you genuinely stop talking. You're spewing out words that don't go together, that you do not understand. So here's the thing.
No, but I'm saying, sorry.
No.
Go ahead.
Gee, thanks. Do you have an explanation for consciousness? Yes or no?
Yeah, I would say it's an immaterial thing. And I'm saying that the reason
Sam,
I brought up
shut your pie hole. When I say yes or no, that's the only answer I need. But when you say yes, you would say it's an immaterial thing. That's not an explanation for consciousness. That is a description of consciousness. You can't even tell the difference in a being handheld at a preschool level between explanation for and property of. You have to go do some more work, Sam, and you have to pause and think about stuff because you are all over the map here. What is your explanation for the apparent existence of the immaterial thing we identify as consciousness?
I mean, like I said, there would be a supernatural cause to it, and I would all tie back to God. But the reason it's immaterial.
Sam, how did you rule out material causation for consciousness?
I haven't. Like I was saying, right?
Sam, you don't get to assert that something is supernatural because it can't be material if you have not ruled out material. You are a logical train wreck right now.
No, but okay. If you let me go back to the last point on the contingency on identity thing.
I'm going to mute you now, Sam. I don't know what you're playing at. You're not going to get me riled up. You're not going to bust my zen. But you're also not serious. You're not a serious thinker. You're not a serious interlocutor. Every time you say something and we point out the logical flaw in it, you're just like, yeah, but, and go right back to it. Every stinking time. If you have an explanation for consciousness, let me tell you what that means. You and I agree that consciousness is the label that we put on a non-material process that I view as an emergent property of matter, although we do not have an explanation for how that works. It may in fact be something that we are barred from actually understanding the why behind it. For now, maybe forever. But if you want to say that the cause of something is supernatural, if and only if it is not material, and we ask you, how did you exclude material causation? And you say you didn't, then once again, by your own reasoning, you are advocating for something that you cannot demonstrate and that you do not have warrant for believing by your own reasoning. I just want to make sure. Is that clear? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Then don't do it again. Then don't do it again.
There's a yeah, but
you get to keep having a conversation. You do it again, I will move on to another caller. Brady, what are you thinking about this?
I just know there's a yeah, but coming. I want to hear what's going to come next. Go ahead, Matt. Sam.
Ooh.
Right. I don't know if I can go back to this. I'm allowed to, but like I was saying, yes, I agree that there is a material cause that causes the immaterial thing to happen. I agree, but the contingency and identity thing, right? Like for example, like I was gonna say, a TV would need like a signal to display the picture, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the picture is the wires in the TV. Just like how the brain is the hardware, right? And then consciousness would be like the software.
Sam,
so it's
we're done.
Contingent, but it's not identical.
Sam, we're done. You're now conflating contingency and identity in ways where the two don't go together at all. You are dipping to analogies about TV signals. You have a completely incoherent position. You have demonstrated repeatedly that not only are you not able to justify your position rationally, but you're not even going to try. You're just going to move on to the next thing. I don't have any interest in that, so we'll say goodbye now, Sam. Thanks.
I hope people watching are able to like just see yourself in some of these callers. Like, is this what my belief system is? Is this the best that I can do? I don't know how you do that, but yeah.
Well, Sam would like to do both sides of the discussion. See, in order for his confused position to even have any hope of working, he has to define the analogy and define it incorrectly, and then try to squeeze his position into it. So he's like, well, that doesn't mean, the TV's relying on a signal, but that doesn't mean the picture is the wires. Hey, hi, Sam. At no point did Brady or I ever say anything as stupid as the picture is the wires. Your analogy is not only completely flawed when it addresses what we said, but it is irrelevant to demonstrating the truth of your proposed explanation that there's a magic gremlin that runs the wires to deliver the fucking picture. It's bizarre. All right.
Hey, do you think this clip just fell out of a coconut tree? No. It did. Okay, now technically I did build the channel into a coconut tree and it did fall out. And also that our internet router is up there. Actually, in a lot of ways, this production fell out of a coconut tree, but we could only afford that because people like you supported us for $5 a month over where is that, Eric?
Patreon.com/call the line. And
that's right.
Jimmy will,
you got it.
Be grateful. Yeah.
We have an exclusive patron podcast over there. Check it out. Thumbs up with it, Eric. We talked about this in the meeting. We have to both.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. Okay, there we go.